everyone, you have joined the special show of Page 3 here at News 9 with me, Sakshi Singh Litoria. We'll be discussing a new film, Huck, starring Yami Gautam and Emraan Hashmi today. What exactly is it inspired by? Let me first tell you that. Today we are going to revisit one of India's most defining legal battles, the Shah Bano case. A case that began as a simple plea for maintenance soon snowballed into a national debate on religion, women's rights and the very idea of justice in a secular democracy. Decades later, today, that story returns to the spotlight with film Huck, a film inspired by the case that continues to stir conversations even till date. As the film readies for a release, it brings back questions that remain deeply relevant about faith, about law, and the space women hold within both. Today, we look at the real story behind Huck, the politics that surrounded it, and why the Shah Bano case still resonates almost 40 years later. Guest joining me on the broadcast to discuss this further is Shaista Ambar, social activist and president, All India Women Personal Law Board; Rekha Agrawal, senior advocate of Supreme Court; Akshay Rati, director, Ashirwad Theatres Private Limited and film exhibitor and distributor; Dr. Nisha Nujumuddin, public policy analyst. Everyone, thank you so much for speaking to News 9 on this very crucial topic. Miss Rekha, let me first come to you. Let me ask you, the Shah Bano case, certainly, that verdict was hailed as a life-changing moment for a lot of people, a milestone for women's rights. Yet, years later today, it was overturned under political pressure. Legally speaking, how do you see and assess that compromise in year 2025?
I think that, as you rightly said, the Shah Bano case was in fact a very landmark judgment. It was a watershed, if I may say so, that, it took a complete turn as far as the fundamental rights of all Indian citizens are concerned to practice and profess the religion of their choice, and at the same time to lead a life with dignity. And the Constitution also guarantees that there should be no discrimination and there should be gender justice. There was also a talk of uniform civil code. There's so many things came about with the 1985 judgment of Shah Bano. And Shah Bano case was indeed a very important matter, because it reiterated the guarantee given under the Constitution that everybody has got a right to access justice. 125 CRPC, which is section 125 Criminal Procedure Code, which guarantees every woman, irrespective of religion, to seek maintenance from her husband even after divorce until she gets remarried. So section 125 Criminal Procedure Code does not define any religion. It applies to all religions, irrespective of caste, color, and creed. So at the same time, when Shah Bano, after being divorced by her husband, applied in the 125 CRPC that I must get maintenance even after my iddat period of 3 months. It certainly, shook everybody in the political as well as the religious circles, as well as in the courts. And though the Supreme Court said that yes, Shah Bano was entitled to receive maintenance, a problem came because the Congress regime at that time, to appease the masses, if I may say so, and certain sects of the society, they enacted a law which is called the Muslim Women Protection of Women from Divorce Act 1986, which said that no, a woman should get maintenance only during the iddat period from her husband, but at the same time, to kind of balance the Supreme Court verdict, because the act could not be against the verdict also.
Right.
The act said that if a woman cannot support herself after the iddat period, then there must be provision for welfare boards, where the divorced woman after the iddat period can also seek maintenance from the welfare board or from her relatives. Now, Supreme Court ultimately, this interpretation of the Muslim Act, this 1986 Act, was challenged by her counsel, Mr. Daniel Latifi,
right,
who challenged the matter again in the Supreme Court, that said this act is violative of the Constitution. And a balance was drawn which said that yes, a woman, even if she is divorced, after her iddat period is over, she can still claim maintenance irrespective of the 1986 Act.
right.
So in fact, the latest judgments in the last few years, whether it is Shah Bano or Shaira Bano, they've all ultimately come around a full circle. The law has come around a full circle, and the right of a Muslim woman irrespective of the fact that whether she's been divorced or not, she can still claim maintenance from her husband very clearly, even after divorce has taken place, even after the Iddat period is over. She can claim maintenance under 125 Criminal Procedure Code if she so desires. If she wants to go to the welfare boards and seek maintenance from the welfare board or from her relatives, be that as it may, that is a right. But if she still wants to go and seek justice from the courts under 125 CRPC, this all the landmark judgments in the last few years, Shah Bano case, Shazia Bano case, all these cases have reiterated, and again, there's a big debate now whether ultimately the Uniform Civil Code should be there and whether guarantee of maintenance should be given to every woman irrespective of her religion.
Okay, Rekha ji, I'll come back to you with further questioning on that front, but let me quickly take a question with Akshay as well. As someone, Akshay, who understands the audience's sentiment, do you think that there's an appetite today for films that explore real politically charged cases such as Shah Bano in this one?
Well, absolutely, ma'am. I mean, there have been, in the recent times especially, enough and more instances where movies that are about the political, events that have shaped the history of our country have found exceeding amounts of traction. A very recent example is Article 370, which was a movie with Yami Gautam, which spoke about how the article, was revoked from the, or rather modified from the Indian Constitution, and the movie was a huge hit. Similarly, movies like, the Kashmir Files, which we won't get into the politics of it in the right or the wrong or who supports what, but it was a movie about a very politically charged issue, and that again went on to find a lot of traction. So I think the audience is very smart to know, about the intention of the filmmaker. There are lots of movies that are jingoistic and that, harp onto the political issues and sentiments just to get the sensationalist value, and the audience sees through it and does not turn up at the cinemas for them. But movies that are truly relevant and try to actually give a message that is socially or politically relevant and resonates with a large section always find footfalls at the cinemas. So even with Huck, which is a movie that is not just, I'd say, political, but socio-political, it is something that I believe will resonate with a fairly deep section of the society, and I hope they choose to turn up at the cinemas in big numbers to watch it.
Right, absolutely. Dr. Najumuddin, if I could ask you, what does the Shah Bano case tell us about the evolution or stagnation of gender justice policy in India since the 1980s, and what's the situation like at the moment in year 2025 according to you?
See, when faith and freedom collide, I strongly stand with women, I would say, because justice begins with her rights, a woman's rights, and true strength begins with her financial independence. Having said that, this particular case of Shah Bano, it is not about religion, it is about pride. It is not anti-Islam, that the case of Shah Bano. Rather, it is about, it's pro-humanity, I would say. She fought for her maintenance, and that is never a religious attack. I do, being a Muslim, I do follow my religious perspectives, and I do have a lot of respect for that. But we need to understand that there are certain things which also needs to be followed in a much practical way as well, right? So as I said, the maintenance is never a religious attack, rather it is a constitutional necessity. Why? Because see, for example, roti after talaq is not as blasphemy, I would say. It is a basic dignity. Right, and in this particular situation, a film has been brought in, Huck, wherein with cinema, it actually reaches the courage, and we must not censor the history. What is the truth has been told there, and this particular film, that is Huck, it also revives a story that India shouldn't forget. And I would say that this movie is not about disrespecting, or it is not at all maligning any Muslim community. It rather honors a Muslim woman's courage and India's constitutional fabric. That's what I would actually say. And having said that, if you see as a Supreme Court, it's always supreme for us, right? And not any personal law board. Under the context that we need to understand that when the Supreme Court upheld that maintenance is a very basic, or let's say it's a secular right, even in 2001, we have the Daniel Latif case also, which reaffirmed that this particular, maintenance is very important even after the 1986 Act. So if religion is eternal, then justice must be universal also. But having said that, I feel a lot of people who fears that if this film is going to come up, what is the fear that they have? I would say as a person, is that what I feel is that it may lead once again to a massive, political and communal tension, just like what happened in 1980s. But we need to understand that 1980 is different from 2025. People understand things much better. Right. And from a legal perspective, my previous speaker spoke very beautifully, so I don't want to repeat the same. But from a societal perspective, from the lens of a gender, as you asked me, from the gender justice perspective, I would say that this situation highlights how laws have failed or evolved to protect the diverse women, I would say. And this also, shows the cinema and the reform as well. Why? Because this is showing the power of the film industry as a whole to revisit, reshape, and kind of relight certain democratic discourse. So this particular, issue is all about, the humanitarian perspective. So Shah Bano, this particular woman, she did not ask for revenge. She just asked for her survival.
Absolutely.
And justice that divides is not justice at all. So if India is secular, okay, if India is secular, so must be its sense of justice. So I feel that this kind of a situation, and in 2025, when Huck movie has been brought out, it should be taken in that right sense rather than creating such kind of communal or any other tensions. There is a lot of issue. And by the way, state versus religion. It will always be, contentious, no doubt about it. And this is not about Hindu law versus Muslim law. Rather, you think about from, a woman's perspective. Think about equality's perspective. Then I think it should not be much issue. Because uniformity or let's say, it must come from the unity, not from imposition, right? So people are trying to impose the way using the religious fabric, which is not at all appreciated, is what I personally feel.
Okay. Okay. Rekha ji, let me come back to you. From a constitutional standpoint, do you think a film like Huck can actually help the younger generation understand how politics and law often collide in matters of personal rights?
Absolutely. And I think that the rule of harmonious construction should be applied over here. And the constitution prevails. Let us not forget the fact, and let not the youngsters and the viewers who are going to, the masses who are going to view this film, Huck, ultimately when it is released, let them not forget the fact that irrespective of religion, irrespective of caste, color, and creed, what is supreme is the fact that you are an Indian citizen, that I am an Indian citizen. Whether I'm a Muslim, I'm an Indian citizen. Whether I'm a Hindu, I'm an Indian citizen. So what protects every Indian citizen is the Constitution. Certain fundamental rights are enshrined in the Constitution. For example, equality, protection from discrimination, secularism, and ultimately the Uniform Civil Code may ultimately be the call of the day. But I think that I really welcome this movie when it is released, so that it is going to bring a very big educational lesson to everybody who watches it, whether it is youngsters, whether it is the common masses, whether it is law students, anybody at all. That because ultimately after the Shah Bano case in 1985, there was a very big controversy that whether or not a Muslim woman is entitled or not entitled to maintenance. Not everybody understands the legal judgments, that are, that come out from the Honorable Supreme Court. Not the common man will not even understand what is the 1986 Act, which was brought about by the Congress regime at that time. So now I think this, in straight, simple words, this movie, I hope, will convey the message to everybody that maintenance, as the earlier speaker said, is a right. It's on humanitarian rights also. It is the right to live a life of dignity, which again the Constitution guarantees. So the Constitution guarantees that right to life means right to lead a life with dignity. It doesn't mean that you should be on a begging bowl just because a divorce has been granted and your husband can throw you out only because 3 months period of iddat is over. Why should you run to the welfare board? Why should you run to relatives, asking for maintenance? You have a right to ask from your husband himself. So let the religion remain. There is no dichotomy between religion and this law which is there. So politics, yes, as I just said, that at that time in 1986, to please the masses, the government at that time did bring about the 1986 Act. But the Honorable Supreme Court, in its wisdom, brought about a balance. It upheld the validity of the 1986 Act, which says that Muslim women cannot claim maintenance after the iddat period is over under 125 CRPC. But at the same time, a balance was drawn, and Daniel Latifi's judgment has very clearly clarified any controversy or any doubt that may remain in the mind of the common man, particularly the downtrodden, uneducated, Muslim women who may not have access to a lawyer, who may not know how to go to a lawyer. She may remain under a myth that no, I cannot claim maintenance after my divorce is over or after my iddat period is over, because that is the kind of the knowledge that she's grown up with. That is the kind of environment she's grown up with. So I think that I welcome such a movie that is going to bring about a sea change in the common Muslim women as well as Muslim men's mind.
Okay.
That women not be deprived of the basic fundamental right of maintenance.
Absolutely. Rekha ji, I heard you. But actually, let me come back to you. How do you think filmmakers and exhibitors like you strike a balance between creative storytelling and also social sensitivity while we are dealing with such historical cases? One that we are discussing at the moment is, of course, Shah Bano's fight.
Well, see, I think as filmmakers who, tell tales or try and convey a message through a mass medium, it's extremely important that we choose to exercise our freedom of expression, but with responsibility. And I think, given the kind of filmmakers who are attached with this movie, with Huck, given the fact that if you look at it, it is a movie that coincidentally speaks about the issue of maintenance in the context of a Muslim family, has been enacted by Emraan Hashmi, who himself is a Muslim. And I really think that's commendable. And I really hope that this message that the entertainment industry, and I speak on behalf of the filmmakers who've made this film, I really hope that even if 1% of the concerned population is impacted or seeks the right kind of inspiration or gets the right kind of information and awareness about this issue through this film, it's a great job done. And unfortunately, the number of cinemas in this country is far fewer measured against the population of this country. So it's not just cinema halls. Over a period of time, this movie will come on terrestrial television, it will come on streaming platforms, and through the course of its run, I hope it reaches the maximum number of people possible and creates the right impact. And as for filmmakers, and not just about this movie, I think there have been enough more. If you look at it, Oh My God and Oh My God 2 were films that spoke about social causes. There's so many others that have come along over a period of time. Padman, Toilet Ek Prem Katha, so many other films that have come along and somewhere created, if nothing else, at least the right degree of awareness among patrons. And that, I think, is the greatest service that we can do as the entertainment fraternity to our audiences.
Dr. Najumuddin, let me come back to you. Do you think cinema in this case, when done responsibly, can actually play a constructive role in shaping public understanding and also policy and reform, especially on issues of religion and gender? Your opinion on that?
See, as I mentioned before, this particular issue is actually showcasing that history needs to be revisited. And in revisit the history, it shows the courage of Indian cinema, how beautifully we are able to showcase such kind of situations. It's a kind of awareness for the younger generation also. And as I told before, when cinema retells courage, we must censor history. That is what I want to repeat again. And now this also shows that the equality of women, respect of caste, creed, color, sex, whatever it is. And now women can't be sacrificed at the altar of an identity. And again, through this,
I'll request you to please stay on with me. I request you to please stay on with me. I'll let you complete your answer. Shaista ji is with us on the broadcast. Shaista ji, मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रही थी, मैम, इतने सालों के बाद भी क्या आपको लगता है जो शाह बानो की वो जो लड़ाई थी, उसने औरतों को उसका हक दिला दिया है, चाहे हम जस्टिस की बात करें, क्या वो आज कम्युनिटी में पूरी तरीके से वो लड़ाई अचीव हो चुकी है?
नहीं, देखिए, अभी पूरी तरह से तो नहीं हुई है, क्योंकि ये मानसिकता होती है। जब तक मानसिकता नहीं सही होगी, हम कानून कितना भी बना लें, चाहे बलात्कार पे बना लें, चाहे भ्रष्टाचार पे बना लें, चाहे पोटा पे बना लें, चाहे आतंक पे बना लें, अगर हमारे मन की इच्छा और विवेक शक्ति नहीं होगी, तब तक हम समाज की बुराइयों को खत्म नहीं कर पाएंगे। हमें समाज में फैली हुई कुरीतियां और अंधविश्वास और बुराइयों को खत्म करने के लिए परिवार के अंदर से, समाज के अंदर से एक जागरूकता लानी होगी कि हमें जेंडर इक्वालिटी, जेंडर जस्टिस, सोशल इक्वालिटी, सोशल जस्टिस होना चाहिए।
तो जी, अगर मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँ आपका ओपिनियन इस मूवी, जी शास्त्री जी,
कहीं ना कहीं औरतों के साथ में गैर बराबरी का है, पहले की तरह नहीं रह गया है। ये बात सही है कि जब से कानून तलाक तक बना है, तब से बहुत कम हुआ है कानून, वो कब से बहुत से कम हुए हैं तलाक, और हलाला की भी बातें अब कम हुई है। लेकिन मानसिकता ऐसी है कि घरेलू हिंसा तो रहती ही है। घरेलू हिंसा है, चाहे वो मुस्लिम समुदाय में हो, चाहे गैर मुस्लिम समुदाय में हो। हम रोजाना दैनिक भास्कर है या और दूसरे अखबार की कटिंग है या अखबार है या आप लोगों के न्यूज चैनल से देखते हैं कि औरतों के साथ, बेटियों के साथ कितना अपराध और बलात्कार, और घर से छोड़ करके उनको मार दिया जाता है, खेतों में छोड़ दिया जाता है। तो ये मानसिकता जो है, ये अपराध की पत्नियों के लिए, महिलाओं के लिए, बेटियों के लिए ये खत्म होनी चाहिए, तभी जब हम समाज के लिए, घर और परिवार के लिए जागरूक होंगे।
शाइस्ता जी, ये जो फिल्म आ रही है हक, यामी गौतम और इमरान हाशमी की, जो इस टॉपिक से इंस्पायर होके बनी है, आपका इस बारे में क्या कहना है?
मैं कहती हूँ ठीक है, अच्छी बात है, लेकिन ऐसा ना हो कि किसी समुदाय की आस्था पे चोट पहुंचे। सामाजिक बुराई पे फोकस होना चाहिए जी, आस्था और धर्म पे चोट नहीं होना चाहिए।
बिल्कुल, थैंक यू सो मच कि आपने हमसे बात करी, आपने अपना पर्सपेक्टिव हमसे शेयर किया। डॉक्टर नजमुद्दीन, योर फाइनल रिस्पॉन्स मैम, वी हैव टू क्लोज द शो।
What I would love to say is for all those people who feel that this particular movie will once again trigger the communal or any sort of religious protest, you need to understand that this is kind of educating the masses or the upcoming generations, or the current generations, how to understand things in a very, very practical manner. And you need to also understand that giving equality for women, irrespective of whichever caste, creed, religion they belong to, is indeed very, very, very important. And now, this also showcases the courage of women. It also shows how important constitution is in our country, India, irrespective of whatever personal religious laws that we have. I'm not saying that you should not even take care of those things. Of course, we need to respect whatever personal laws are there, but it should not be at the cost of the constitution, because constitution supreme is what I believe actually. So as I said, women can't be sacrificed at the altar of identity. It is not about, Hindu versus Muslim law. It should be about the equality for all women. So injustice in the name of identity is still injustice. So Shah Bano is actually a kind of motivation, inspiration for many women. As my previous speaker said, if an illiterate Muslim lady is coming, she does not even know how to approach a lawyer. But today, this is actually going to be a motivational inspiration for her to talk about, to come out and say that maintenance is actually a right. So you may even ask that the current situation of alimony system. See, again, having said that, it's not like, when somebody is getting a divorce, I may not need alimony. That is a personal choice of the individual, whether they want it or not. But if the particular woman is financially very strong, very independent, perfectly fine. She can take care of herself. That is why in the very, very, opening remarks of my statement, I said that for a woman, justice begins with her rights and true strength begins with the financial independence. When she is not financially independent, maintenance is indeed, and I would say it is a right, and under any context of religious perspective, we should not discriminate.
All right, Dr. Najmuddin, Shaista ji, Rekha ji, Akshay, thank you so much for joining the conversation here at News9 on that very crucial topic. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not it. We have heard from the experts what they have to say about the upcoming film, about the infamous Shah Bano case, and whether it is still relevant in year 2025 or not. But we also sat down to have an exclusive chat with Yami Gautam and Emraan Hashmi, sharing their perspective about their film Huck. Let's listen in. Hello everyone, speaking to News9 exclusively for their upcoming film Huck. Very pretty Yami Gautam and Emraan Hashmi. Thank you so much for joining for this conversation. A very, very crucial topic as far as Indian history is concerned. Specifically, if we have to view it from the lens of one specific community. I want to ask you a story of 1985. Why do you think it is still relevant in 2025?
No, that's a very important question, because that's something even I wondered when Suparn and Reshu Nath, who's a writer and Suparn is a director, when they discussed the film with me. And I was wondering, first of all, I've been a law student for a brief time, and it's not possible that you're studying Indian law and you bypass the landmark case of Shah Bano versus Ahmed Khan, and especially from the Supreme Court, what happened with the judgment and everything. It changed the political climate back then, so much so that so many events which are even talked about today, whether we like it or not, whatever happened, that all kind of stemmed from that particular hearing. So as a student, I was always curious, and here I am sitting as an actor and you're getting such a massive opportunity. And But then I wondered the same thing, that how is it still relevant? But that question was more in a, it felt a little weird, because in that question only I knew the answer. It is relevant. Because somewhere it is not, we are not mimicking those circumstances exactly verbatim, or this is not a biopic. This is inspired,
Absolutely.
by the story. But as I think Emraan had said in the press conference the other day, that we still have Shazias and Abbases, that situation, maybe in a different form, maybe in a different social way, but they very much exist, right? And the problems may have changed and shifted their shape, but at somewhere, at a deeper level, women, especially when it comes to, of course, there is a legal aspect to it, but the very basic thing of respecting someone's right to equality for something as important as maintenance for herself or her children. And we're talking about a time where there was no awareness also of the term awareness, I think.
Absolutely.
Today we have 1,000 questions and 1,000 mics in front of us. Who speaks the loudest? Everyone can get, if you can sit in a village and make a video, and people might hear that. But we're talking about back in the day, and where she's a traditional woman, and how do you do that? But somewhere I think this story speaks to each one of us, whether you are from that community, you're not from that community, you're a woman, you're a man, whoever you are, it will speak to you.
Okay, fair enough. Emraan, when the script first came your way, when you did the research of the case, what was that one aspect of the story or the entire trajectory of, say, the hearings, the opposition, the defense, and also the women speaking about their struggles, that struck chord with you, that, this is the story that I should be part of?
I think, first of all, it is the landmark case. It is something that I knew on a surface level. I didn't really know in depth the intricacies of it. It's, again, like she said, it is inspired. There are certain aspects of this film that are dramatized. There is the interpersonal relationship, which is a beautiful interpersonal relationship between this husband and a wife, and how that relationship goes down a rocky road, and eventually you have this courtroom drama. But because I knew it on the surface level, I wanted to know more. I was very intrigued when he said, okay, this is the Shah Bano case. And I was like, okay, I know about it. And when I started getting to the depth of the script, I was like, this is such an interesting story. And coming back to your earlier question, it's, you can remove probably just the community angle of it, the religion angle of it. I think every woman, every man can take something back from this. I think it's very introspective for men. For the male chauvinist types, the people who do stuff in a similar vein in society, the oppression on a woman, the what she's subjected to, that introspection from a man's point of view is very important. And also from a woman's perspective of, okay, Shah Bano at that time, her struggle at that time, we're bringing it back to public domain. This is an example for a lot of women who probably might be going through something like this. And it's very prevalent. And again, it's not about a particular religion or a community. There are situations where you have divorces, the woman is left in the lurch. God forbid she has kids and she's not an independent woman. And she's denied basic right to maintenance. A lot of men do that. And it's a simple message that, justice is not given, it is fought for. And this is what this woman did. She did it for herself, she did it for her children. She didn't know she's going to be an example for generations of women to come. And we can come to this in probably later about what I felt about Abbas's character, Abbas Khan, because I don't understand him. I didn't understand him when I read the script, but I did the film to understand him. I think that's what we as actors do. We might see a character, it might be very distant from who we are as personalities, from our ideology, from our thought process. But when we get into the character and play those scenes out, I'm not justifying the character, but then I can understand, okay, this is where he was coming from. So I've never played a character. He might, in hindsight, come across as a villain, as a bit of a grey character, but I couldn't play it that way. I had to play it with a guy with utmost conviction.
Absolutely.
So playing someone who's very distant from my ideology is a challenge in itself. So I think that's something that drew me to this subject.
Interesting. Yami, when I've done your previous interviews in the past as well, I've always told you that you speak through your eyes, even if it is about just silence being depicted in a particular scene through your eyes, that specific scene from article as well. This time when I saw the trailer, what stayed with me was that हम सिर्फ औरतें नहीं हैं, हम हिंदुस्तानी मुसलमान औरतें हैं. That particular scene, I want to ask you what was going through your mind when you were delivering your dialogue, when you were actually wearing the shoe of those women who are still fighting the battle?
You've pretty much answered my emotion, what I was going through. We had a monologue, both of us, and it was a pretty long one. And it was not just about literally learning those lines. You cannot gauge or you cannot laud the a monologue just basis ki अरे आपने इतना बड़ा monologue किया है. No, it's about the emotion, right? It's always about the emotion. Okay, once I learned the lines, but somewhere I think I was also very conscious and very cognizant of the fact that yes, you're right. Here I am, and the lines are also as such. I mean, hats off to Rishu for Reshu, Suparn, somebody else we had on who's working with us on diction, Idrak. We all kind of sat together, essentially, of course, Reshu, and we were like, what can we write to justify her journey, to encapsulate that journey in those last 8 minutes? Because just before me, at some point, when Abbas puts forward his point of view, I cannot call him wrong. He doesn't just become the bad guy here, right? You hear him, and you hear him very carefully. He makes a point. When I read the script only, I said, this is so well written and so balanced. It cannot be lopsided. It cannot be ki are last mein ye hona hai, so let's work backwards. No, it's not like that. That's the beauty, I think, of that scene. But in those last 8-9 minutes, what I said to myself that I'm literally, as you said, it's not about just that one character, but each one of us, you, me, maybe our moms, maybe our grandmoms, maybe someone else who you know or you don't know, you representing a part of them in that scene. And if we've managed to kind of bring it alive on screen and the audience feels that, I think we'll feel that we've done our jobs well.
Strong. Imran, fortunately or unfortunately, or you just say that time has taken its course, over a period of time, even entertainment industry is being viewed through the lens of politics nowadays. And unfortunately, I would say that such films that talk about, a historical chapter or get inspired by a historical chapter, which is very crucial to Indian history, they are judged through the lens of politics. This time around, I know that after Huck's release, certain questions are going to be asked specifically over the release timing, because a lot of elections will be coming till 2026, be it the assembly elections. How exactly the team is gearing up to answer all of those questions coming your way?
We always wanted to come after we finished the film on 7th of November because, theatrically it is a film, it's a date that's open. It's got nothing to do with the political timing of it or any of that sort. It is the environment that we are in right now. I don't know if it is something that is after maybe 2020, you have a certain social media kind of, I don't know if it's the toxicity or the narrative that's constantly flowing through social media that is sparking this thing with films coming out and this being interwoven in a lot of films. Coming down to, firstly, the sensitive angle of the community. And me being a Muslim first, and I've said this multiple times, I had to view the lens from a Muslim angle, not just from a creative actor's lens. And it is such a balanced point of view of a film of a court case that went down. And it is essentially a reflection of how the case went about, and you can take what you want to take back with you after you see the film. Yes, there would be probably a divided house once you see a film like this. It's in the nature of the narrative. It's inspired by the Bano case. At that time, it was highly controversial. It was politicized. Now, if we're going to sit down and feel that, okay, this is how things will blow up and it's very sensitive and this is probably, these debates will start again, how do you exercise your right to put something creatively out there?
Fair.
I think the overarching theme of this film, from me, from a Muslim's point of view, I see it's pro-women. That's what I take from this film. It's about this woman fighting for her equality. It's a woman fighting for her basic rights to dignity. That's what I take. Now, tomorrow, if someone takes something else, they want to give it a political narrative, you can't really control that. All you can do is have a clean heart with what you're doing as a creative person. Put the film out there. And over here, मैं कह रहा हूँ कि हमारी नियत बड़ी साफ है कि this is the film we're putting it out there because it's pro-women. It's for women. Women should really come and see this as a testament to what Bano did back then in '85. That's the overarching thing.
लेकिन ऐसा हुआ नहीं है कि we haven't talked about or have made films being inspired with the crucial historical chapters as far as India, Bharat is concerned. Then why do you think now all the questions are being asked?
Depends who's asking. I think as he said, some होता है कईयों को बाल की खाल ही निकालनी है. You can't cater to everyone. You cannot answer every question. You cannot satisfy every perspective. We have to look at the larger picture. And we are here coming from an industry where we are entertainers, right? Otherwise, we could have made a docudrama also, which is also great. But this is something which we chose to be a part of this industry. And here we are, we're getting an opportunity to tell you a fresh story through a story which happened once upon a time back in the 80s, but with a fresh perspective. It is an amalgamation of fiction and reality. And then you make your own choice. You first watch the film and then you decide that what do you feel about it. If you feel right, if you like the film for what it is, then that's it. There's no overthinking. I think it's only when you really want to give a color to something, you take out, "Arey, ye, wo," and that's okay. There's always some noise around something or everything. That is also okay. That is also acceptable. No problem. As long as people are still being respectful, everyone has a right to voice their opinion.
Fair enough. In terms of the research, apart from the theoretical research, was there any kind of research that the actors had to do on ground? Maybe speaking to women of the community, asking them about their struggles or any past instances which might have gotten connected to the case?
I think she can speak for that, but I think for me as research for the character, it was basically interacting with the director and the writer. I was playing a lawyer for the first time. And generally in films, in Bollywood films, there are these theatrics they have in courtrooms, which I actually enacted one and sent it to my director saying that, okay, it should be like this. And I was so proud of my monologue. When I said it was all theatrical. And then Suparan called me back and said, "Emraan, it's great, but this is how it's done in the Sessions Court. There's a decorum there. Because it's, you have to give the decorum in court, and that goes through and through in High Court." I said, okay, now we're going by the book and it's going to be very accurate. So I had to tone it down and maneuver it accordingly. So it's real, it's explosive at the same time when you see courtroom scenes. At least for me, I'm talking from playing a lawyer's thing for the first time. And, doing these scenes with her, the scenes where there's the romance, there's the early honeymoon phase of the relationship, and then there's the feud at home. Those were just discovered on the film set. We just obviously learned our lines, and it was pretty explosive when we did those scenes because they were very well written scenes. So, I mean, I wouldn't say there's any research there. It was just about going there and just kind of putting it all in. Yeah.
Were you brought to the ground to speak to some women about their story, Yami?
Most of the answers are there in your script. And I learned this long back. That yes, sometimes on-ground research is important and all those things, but the script of Huck was so wholesome that those questions, I didn't have those questions. I was very clear of how I see Shazia Bano. As I said, you're portraying a character, a part of a character which has been there in public, the information has been there in public domain. We have only seen a handful of pictures. We don't know, there's nothing. I know of her as much as you would know. Probably you would know still more than me. So I literally went back and made my own character sketch that what would take a woman to take such a massive decision in her life, which of course she didn't realize that's the ripple effect that it's going to have for years and years to come. But how would a woman muster such courage way back in the day, where the word, I think, empowerment, I don't think that would, or awareness was really talked about as much as openly as it is today, right? So I worked my way backwards. I knew the outcome. I just had to weigh my work, that's kind of my expression, of course, with Suparn, with Reshu, out of our discussion, that how would she be? Oh man, I have no idea. There is no single video. There's nothing. So it was very interesting. Baki, as far as struggles of a woman are concerned, I don't think any of us, each one of us would have our own story, you know, of every strata, of every class, of every religion. So, so keeping a lot of things in mind, I think just try to put each one of us there somewhere.
Well, I can speak for myself. I'm super excited for the film. It's looking so intriguing, and I'm just waiting for 7th November to come as soon as possible. You do keep a track of your Instagram, so I'm gonna put my review over there.
Well, he doesn't, but I'm gonna tell him, and I think for that day we are all pushing Imran to let go his detox, this digital detox that he has.
Yeah, at least for Huck, aap Huck se वापस आएं. And last but not the least, I would request both of you to look directly into the camera and request the viewers why should they be heading towards the theatre.
कई बार ऐसा मौका मिल जाता है लाइफ में, जो कुछ ऐसे फिल्में आपके करियर में आती हैं, ऐसे रोल आपके करियर में आते हैं जो जिन्हें आप सोचते हैं कि अगर हम जिंदा रहे 50 साल बाद और उन्हें वापस मुड़ के देखें तो कह पाएंगे अपने आने वाले पीढ़ियों से कि कुछ अच्छा काम किया था शायद. तो ये हक बिल्कुल उन फिल्मों में से एक है. और आई थिंक आपने कभी एक अच्छी फिल्म को डिसअपॉइंट नहीं किया है. मेरा पूरा भरोसा, हमारा पूरा भरोसा ऑडियंस पर है. हमें भरोसा है कि हमने एक ईमानदारी के साथ एक साफ़ सुथरी अच्छी फिल्म बनाई है, जो एक ऐसी बात जो शायद हमारे आसपास होती है पर एक नई तरीके से कही जा रही है. और क्यों ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है ये सब्जेक्ट, और ये केस क्यों इम्पॉर्टेंट था, और कहीं ना कहीं हम सभी पे, हम चाहे जिस भी धर्म से हों, कहाँ इन्फ्लुएंस करता है. सो दैट एक छोटी सी उसके ऊपर एक कहानी है. उम्मीद है आप इसे बड़ा मनाएंगे.
She aced it. I can't do anything. I cannot talk. I'm gone. I'm dying. This is the best. I can't do anything.
We're all waiting for you.
Please watch Huck on the 7th of November. It's for this lady. She's fantastic in the film. इनकी परफॉर्मेंस जो न्यूएंस के साथ एंड जो बारीकी के साथ इन्होंने परफॉर्म किया है एज बानो, it will flow you, and it's a deeply human emotional drama. It's a story of these two people, broken individuals, one man fighting for his personal faith, a woman fighting for her basic rights and right to dignity. And हर किसी के लिए कुछ ना कुछ ये फिल्म, I mean, आप कुछ लेके जाएंगे वापस सिनेमा घर से. Everyone has something to learn from this film. Please watch Huck on the 7th of November.
With that, we have reached the wrap of this interview, ladies and gentlemen. 7th of November in your nearby theatres. Huck, do watch it.